Alrighty, you guys. Sales Bro Pod episode 28, I think. This time around, we've got Mr. Gabe Mora. Gabe, thanks for coming on, man.
Absolutely, dude. Thank you for having me.
I've uh, I've been looking forward to this one just for some context, and I'd love for you to kind of share what you're up to now. But on my first, I would say real closing role, I was closing alongside Gabe, and he's a beast. So I was hoping to get you on here, man. For the viewers, that if they may not know who you are yet, like what are you currently up to?
Dude, I have my own offer here in Hispanic America where I teach people how to optimize their sales systems. So not just closing, but all the sales process overall from the setting all the way up to closing and following up and all that good stuff. And then giving them a little bit of strategic advice in terms of how to increase or how to scale their businesses. And then on the side, I'm also coaching around 140 clients, give or take, across North America, the Europe, and Oce- Oceania. Is that how you say that in English?
Yeah, yeah.
There you go. So
Okay,
yeah,
cool. So this guy, uh, this guy Gabe has a lot of valuable experience. You guys listening are going to be in for a treat. It's going to be a short and quick one. So we're on a little bit of a time restraint, but man, let's take it back. Let's take it back. Are you from Costa Rica?
yeah. Born and raised
Okay,
in Costa Rica.
cool. So I already know, like, I had put out questions of people um, who listened to the podcast. I was like, hey, what do you guys want to know from this guy? And one of them that came in was like, hey, how did he get to do all this cool stuff being from, not the US, or not, the key places that most of these people do it from. What was it like being from Costa Rica and then like getting into this space?
Dude, it was a crazy story because, I mean, and just for context, when I was a kid, I used to harvest coffee for like $6 a day in the highlands of Costa Rica, right? So I definitely was not into this industry or anywhere near to it. Um, Long story short, I ended up being one of the managers or directors for a nonprofit that was having a project in Dominican Republic. And back in the day, my best friend told me that Tai Lopez was hiring sales guys, right? At the time, I really had close to zero experience in high ticket sales or any of that stuff. I didn't even knew what a closer was. But I mean, at the time, I kind of ditched on it because I was running a project with over 100 people under management and stuff. And I told him no. Like a week later, he told me, "Hey, dude, Ty posted again. He's really looking for it. I know that's what you want to do." And literally from an Instagram story, I applied and ended up working with Tai Lopez, well, on his team directly, right? And so that was probably the craziest experience because I went from literally not being involved at all to being trained by one of the top guys in the industry, right? And learning a ton from him, right? And also being coached by some of the biggest names in the industry as well, because he had the influence, he had
Yeah,
the power to bring those guys to coach us.
yeah,
So that was it, dude. And yeah, I mean, I was definitely out of my punt for a while. It's definitely
yeah,
a cultural shock in terms of learning and training and getting better, but
yeah,
it was well worth it, right?
yeah. What do you think? So Ty Lopez posted that he was hiring, and he didn't find anyone, I guess. But obviously, tons of people replied, and then he posted again, and then you finally applied and you landed. Like, what do you think you had that he didn't find in other people?
Bro, that's funny because I mean, at the end of the day, it was like a 30 something group of people. So we're like 31, something like that, people. And I know, like, the first interview was 30 seconds each to answer one question that they asked you. So it wasn't Ty hiring, right? It was his team. But it was hundreds of people, at least 400 or 500 people in that Zoom call. And we all just had 30 seconds to answer one question and we were out, right? So it was sort of a crazy experience. And Ty is sort of a mad scientist when it comes to psychology and human behavior and all that stuff. So I guess that's what they were basing it off. Um, what did they see in me? I'm not pretty sure. I remember the question they asked me was around leadership, and at the time, again, I was managing over 100 people in a foreign country with seven other people I've never met in my life before, and so that's what I told them about, and I guess that made a pretty good impression, right?
Yeah.
Um, and
Okay.
that's my guess.
Cool. So what was the role that you did under Ty?
Dude, at the time we were cold calling people on their leaves and doing high ticket sales on that end. The crazy part of it was that all of well, of course, I had access to all of Ty's training, and then he would be training us alongside with the team on how to do it. But we had free will in terms of guys. Here's the list, hold them out, and every single day there was accountability check-ins with the directors of the team and stuff. And also Alex, he's business partner, Alex Murray, if you know what that guy is. And so yeah, it was pretty high volume, but there was no pressure or anything. It was more about you wanting to put in the work and making some money, right? And so that's yeah, I think that's the first place where I saw someone my age without experience, without college degree and that kind of stuff, making over 10K a month. And I remember that's when my light went off, right? Went on, right? And I saw the possibility of it. So yeah,
Yeah.
dude. I mean, funny enough, I literally closed that project in the DR. The 2 weeks that I had for vacation, I just got an Airbnb in Santo Domingo, in the capital of the DR, and just took calls all day long for 2 weeks, right? Until I came back to Costa Rica. So no vacations for me, but it was definitely a great experience. Yeah.
It was worth it, dude, because now, I mean, do you think all the stuff that happened after, which we'll get into, do you think that would have happened if you didn't like take that jump and work with Ty?
Oh no, absolutely not, dude. Absolutely not. I guess the untold part of the story is that as soon as I landed in Dominican Republic, I pretty much lost all my life. Like the job I had in Costa Rica, the company closed doors in Costa Rica, lost the apartment I was living at. My girlfriend for almost 2 years broke up with me at that point, and so that time I literally got everything I had built in Costa Rica for the last few years just erased, and so I didn't really want to come back. And when I got hired by them, that was like the saving moment because then I had something that I was doing and I was excited about rather than just coming back to start rebuilding my life, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely an entire experience there, but that connected me to everything that happened afterwards, right? Like that helped me meet some people that I would then end up working with. When I stopped working with Tai, I ended up working with another guy that, funny enough, was doing pretty well for himself, but he wanted to work for Tai just to learn. And so that was one of the coolest experiences as well. Like you realize that when you're working for these big names, it's not just people looking for a job; it's also people looking for mentors. And even though they are doing
Yeah.
well, they are still wanting to learn, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, one thing led to the other, and that's how I ended up where I am today.
Yeah. I mean, Ty, you said it yourself, like Ty he's a different guy, right? Like what are some of the takeaways that you had from working on one of his teams?
Whew. Uh,
Like ways that he operates differently that may set him apart and his companies apart.
Number one, dude, it's they are first of all they are just focused on your personality traits more than anything. Um, for them, none of your context or background matters as long as they like you. And I guess that perspective of focusing on the person and who you are really does make a difference in the market because I don't care if you live in Cyprus or if you live in the US or if you speak Chinese or if you speak Spanish. At the end of the day, who you are is really what matters. And so that's what set him apart in terms of his business and his teams and everything. Because nowadays you can get the top of the top no matter where they are in the world. And that's what allows you to build such big and successful companies, right? And
Yeah.
so that's number one. And number two is, I guess, he's always willing and excited to experiment on different things, right? That's a non-stop thing. It's always experimenting, always trying different things, always testing out, and not closing your perspective to this thing worked and that's it. I'm gonna follow through with this till the end of the days. But this is working. Let's test out three, four, five different variants at the same time, and let's see if there's anything better, right? And that consistent process. Becoming a mad scientist in life, as he says, is literally what has given him such success. Because you have to be very diligent to really keep that process going for a long time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. How long did you end up working on that team?
It wasn't that long, really. 6 to 8 months, I would say.
Okay. I mean, enough
Yeah.
to learn a lot and be able to like stack the resume and to be able to walk away with like a lot of knowledge, a lot of takeaways
Yeah.
that help you. And from
Absolutely, dude. I
there,
mean, I was a sponge.
you are a sponge. Is that what you said?
Yeah, yeah, no, I was a sponge absorbing everything I could learn, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely enough time to learn as much as I could.
Now, did you get poached from there, or did you like go in and you've had a better opportunity lined up? What happened?
Sort of. So, not gonna lie, I think this is the first time I say this in a public space, but back in the day, dude, my best job ever, I was making like $600-700 a month in Costa Rica, right? And all of a sudden, I got to 5K, 6K months during the first few months, and I guess it just got up to my ego, and so I just started believing I was a shit, right? That made me get a bit easy or a bit just laid back, and that kicked me in the butt, right? And so about 6 months, 6 to 8 months in, I started going down in performance, and so that's where I lost the opportunity. That was truly one of the hardest lessons of my life. Remember when I was talking to Terry, the director of the team at that point, I almost wanted to cry at that point because I really
Mm,
felt like I was letting a dream go just because of my own ego and my own actions. Um,
mm,
but the benefit of it was that I was so well connected at that point, and I didn't even realize it. That literally a day later, a friend of mine, that guy that I was telling you about, contacted me to work for his agency because he knew I was good, right? Did
yeah,
that for about a week, and then that's the guy that connected me with Ravi Abuvala from Scaling with Systems, and that's another whole story, right?
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, dude. I mean, I think a lot of us have been there in one way or another, and it again, even like with that lesson right there, would you be exactly where you are today? Like, we don't know, right? Like it all happens for a reason, and you said it yourself, it was one of like the biggest lessons that you've experienced. So you went and worked with your buddy, and then you realize like, oh shoot, like everybody's kind of connected in this space, and that's something like I firmly believe in. It's like the people that you're around, especially in this online business space, they really dictate like the success that you'll have.
yeah,
And it just goes to show because you were connected you said a week or 2 weeks later with Ravi, and then from there it's like you got the ultimate case study, man. The
yeah,
ultimate case
yeah, yeah,
study.
exactly.
What did you when you went on with Ravi, like what did you go on to do originally?
It was a mix of things. I mean, back in the day, I think Ravi was, I mean, SWS itself was in the very early stages, right? And so he needed someone to do appointment setting for him. Back in the day, I didn't even know what an appointment setter was. I don't even think that was a thing. Like they talked more about BAs and stuff like that, right? Like the
Yeah.
appointment setting wasn't really that structured or defined as it is today. Um, but dude, I started, yeah, qualifying, setting appointments, all that cool stuff. And I guess since I had already learned so much about sales, I started selling so well that the closers themselves started telling Ravi, like, dude, this guy is almost closing people. Like they just come in wanting to take, to pay. Because I was telling them, hey, I cannot take the payment. Just you got to talk to this guy to take the payment, right? And
Yeah.
so that's what got Ravi to then allow me to start closing deals on my own, right? And to give me the chance of starting proving myself on that end. But
Yeah.
yeah, it pretty quickly went into setting slash closing, and then, dude, I mean, when a company is in such its early stages and you have the right leader, you learn a little bit about everything, right? At some point, I ended up training BAs, training setters, training part of the sales team at some point, uh, managing the Facebook groups for the company, and a bit of everything. So again, that's where, yeah, that's where I learned and grew the most out of my entire career. I guess
Yeah.
the most exponential growth was there.
Yeah. When you were starting to set, you said you were like, you didn't really have a clear guideline as far as like, this is exactly what I should do. You were just doing like what you thought you should do. And you're basically handing these closers like layups. Was that just because you were like, I want to do as good of a job as I can? Or like, why do you think you were because you know a lot of appointment setters, they're like shoving the booking link down people's throats, and it's like they're
Yeah.
not really doing it right. Why do you think that you took it the next step and like really basically sold them on this? Like, what was the thought process there?
Yeah, dude. I think it's because I don't see setting as booking people on the calendar. I see it as pre-closing people, right? And so when I'm setting, I'm not thinking about I want to put this guy on the calendar. I know it has to get closed so I could collect my money, right? And so it's a combination of two things. Number one, yes, I definitely did want to do the best I could. And funny enough, that's one of the first things I told the guy. Dude, I'm not going to stop working for you until I make you $1 million. Because for me, the mental game was if I can make this guy $1 million, I'm going to learn the skills, right? I'm going to know how to generate it, right? And
Yeah,
so once I can do it for someone else, at least I got the skill. And
yeah,
so that was my goal since the very early stages of me being in that role. And second, my focus wasn't on setting people on the calendar. My focus was on getting people closed. And of course, again, it wasn't so defined at the moment that I just focused on getting them on the calendar. But my thought process behind it was, and this goes for all the M setters, right? You gotta become a 2.0 CEO, right? Like you gotta become the better version of that person replying on the DMs and keeping 100 conversations alive, right? And
yeah,
so when I went into replying the DMs, I would literally spend anywhere from 30 minutes to a few hours a day just reading through the conversations he had previously so I could understand how he expressed himself, how he would, talk to people, like his thought process behind what he was saying, so I could get people bought
yeah.
into what we were doing, right? So, yeah,
So before you were brought on, it was literally like Ravi setting appointments in his own DMs.
yeah. He had a virtual assistant for a long time. They potentially still work together. But I think she was helping him with it. But mostly it was himself. Yeah.
Hmm. And you ended up, I mean, I think, I don't know the exact numbers, but you got on at the very early stages and then helped them grow it up to 8 figures. You were like one of the first few people, from what I understand, right?
Yeah, I was like a third or fourth employee in the company working with him. And yeah, by the time I was out, the company was valued at over 25 million bucks. So
Yeah. How
yeah,
many people were on the team when you decided to step away?
30 to 40 people.
It's no joke, man. That's no
Yeah,
joke.
definitely grew a bit.
Yeah. So you like, dude, I'm sure and you were there for like a while, right? Like 2 or 3 years?
Almost 3 years, a bit more than that potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm sure it was another situation where, and I don't know if with this one, you decide, hey, I'm ready for something else, or something presented itself, or whatever happened. But I'm sure there was no shortage of opportunities for you after that, right?
yeah, no, that was the interesting thing. At some point, number one, I really had a strong imposter syndrome because all I could think of when I was surrounded by this level of people was why am I here? I don't belong here. Like I was harvesting coffee a few years ago, like, and now I'm surrounded by millionaires and luxury cars and all this stuff, and that just kept kicking in, right? Whenever we had an event and we had that type of people, I would have people making millions of dollars come to me and asking for advice. Like, hey, can you help me out with my setters? Can you help me out with this? Can you? And in my mind, it just didn't make sense. Like, why is this? Why are these people asking me for advice? Like, who am I to tell a millionaire how to do X, Y, Z? Right? Uh,
Yeah.
but that's what kind of started opening my eyes to, hey, dude, there's a lot of potential. Um, I kind of screwed up my own growth there, if you want to see it that way. And real quick, without making it too long, Ravi did ask me to become a closer for the team, but I knew as soon as I became a closer, I would be doing sales and that's it. But throughout all my time, I had been under his wing, just learning and developing things. And I mean, at some point, I was, for example, I remember one time when I was having a pizza party with my friends in the beach because I moved to live in a hotel for like 6 months when the pandemic hit. And dude, like 11 p.m. on a Sunday, he literally texted me, Gabe, are you there? I was like, yeah, sure. What's up? You want to work on something? And I was like, yeah, sure, dude. Just closed the pizza box, left the beer on the side, and just went to my room and then started working at 11 p.m. on a Sunday, right? But that's the level of closeness that I had with him, and that's why I was able to learn so much. So when he offered me the closer position, it was hard to take because I didn't want to let go of all the things that I was learning. I didn't want to get away from his side. And so, dude, that was a tough decision for, I think, the last full year and a half that I was working with him. Uh, I saw all the other guys just making so much money and learning so much about closing. But then I was kind of slacking there because I didn't want to give up of the learning, right? For me, in my mind, everything that I was learning was 10 times more worth it than learning how to close at that point, right?
Yeah.
And when I finally felt like I was ready for it, the way the company was structured and the way we had 40 people on the team, it was just not there, right? So that's when I was coming back from a mastermind in Tenerife that we had for our European clients and the team. That I remember coming back just feeling like I needed to do something different, right? I should be taking another
Yeah.
direction, and so that's when I made the decision. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that after that? Is that when you went on to work with Russ, or was it some
Yeah,
other stuff
yeah, yeah, yeah.
between?
I mean, it took like a few weeks, probably a month, from me feeling that and coming back and settling back in to finally deciding. Like, I had a conversation with the CFO of the company, and then we just talked through it. Like, I'm just not feeling it anymore. Fucking love the company, fucking love everything we have here, but feel like I don't belong anymore. And so that was the point where I decided to step out, and that's when I connected to Ras. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. What are so you said like, man, I really just wanted to like keep learning. Like, sure, I could go and make money, and they're literally throwing the closing role at me, but you wanted to keep learning. Like, what are some of the biggest lessons that you took away from your time with Ravi?
Dude, I guess that's the first lesson he ever gave me. I remember asking like, what do I need to do to be good at this, right? Or at what we're gonna build here. And it was massive imperfect action, right? Don't be scared to screw it up. If you're gonna screw it up big, do it fast and fix it fast, right? And that was probably the biggest thing that I learned to see it as a playground, right? So it's a playground for me to grow, for me to explode my abilities and to just get to the next level. Not overall, but every single day I should be in a new level, right? And so that's why I was so obsessed with learning and growing and doing different things. Um, I guess that's number one and probably the biggest. And then in my time there, I mean, Ravi visited Costa Rica multiple times throughout that time, and then I had the opportunity to be with the team in Miami a few times, and then uh, in Europe and stuff. And dude, I would say that the biggest lessons you can get from people like that at that level that are building multiple 8-figure companies and coaching multiple 9-figure companies and stuff like that is it comes from being able to absorb who they are, right? Like their energy and what they do and how they make decisions. And it's not necessarily something tangible you can measure or you can repeat, but it's just being able to be so close that you kind of start in understanding why they are where they are, right? So, for example, from one of the times that he came to Costa Rica to visit, there were two things. Number one, I hadn't seen him in person I guess in like year and a half of working with him. And so I felt like he was so close because we would talk every single day, but I just never met him. That I had this image of, top level entrepreneur, the guy that's never drinking, never partying with his friends, never having fun. He's just working, and that's all he does. First thing he does when he gets to the house is take a bottle of tequila and invite everyone for a drink. And I was like, "What? Wait, dude, you're not supposed to do that, right?" And that's when he told me, like, "Good. So sometimes I can have fun, right? Now I'm
Yeah.
vacationing. Of course, we're gonna work. Of course, we're gonna get it done." But that was like a pattern interrupt of learn to have fun as well, learn to live. And of course, we didn't get drunk or anything like that. But it was more a matter of just break the pattern, right? Just do something that's not so good every now and then. And then from that to being able to wake up the next day and see his daily activity. For example, in the morning, he would wake up, meditate, write down his goals, go to exercise, then work, and then enjoy, right? And that was during vacations. And when regular people take vacation, they literally just sign out, right? But a guy at that level, even when he's not working, he is putting in the work. He is following
Yeah.
his own routine. He's still having a structure, right? And that's what allows him to be so successful.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier, like when you first started, with him, and you were getting around like, millionaires and these, luxury cars and all this stuff. Like you were feeling a sense of imposter syndrome, and then, now you just mentioned like you met him in person for the first time, and you were like, oh shit, like he does normal person things as well. Like, I'm curious, did that make you feel a little bit more like, hey, maybe these guys aren't so different. Um, but
Yeah,
obviously, like there's still levels to the game, right? It's like, wow, this guy really has done some, pretty impressive things, and other people who have done similar. But it's like that imposter syndrome. I'm just curious, like, did it ever go away, or did it just become more like manageable?
became a lot more manageable. I mean, I think that's something my first business mentor told me, John. Because I remember I tended to idolize these people, right? I mean, as a guy that comes from a poor country in Latin America that works his ass off for 6 days for $6 a day, I just idolized everyone that was a millionaire, right, or that was in those levels. And he told me, they are not smarter than you, they are not nicer than you, they're just regular people that make better decisions with their time. That's it, right? That always stuck with me, and so I guess I always had it in the back of my mind. But still working with them, you sense something is different, right? And you sense there's things that where they don't think the same way as you, and so I guess by familiarity you can start to normalize it and handle it better. By familiarity, you can start to really just assimilate it more and more until you get so close that you realize there's nothing different, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's something that, as I kind of continue to progress through this online space, and I start meeting, bigger people, and people who are, making more money, and they live in cool lifestyles and all that. It's like, hey, this guy is not really that much different. He probably has just been doing it for longer than me. Like, as long as you
Yep.
just stay the course and keep making better decisions with your time, like you said, like it. I mean, there's the one piece of it, like the compounding, that you can't manufacture. That you just have to show up like day in, day out, do the work that you should, and meet the right people, and then you just start like exponentially taking off, right? So
Yep.
then you had this experience with him. You got the case study that basically was like, all right, dude, I'm pretty good at this. I'm pretty good at this stuff. I can help other people do it. How did you get in touch? And this is where, like, closer to the time when I met you, when we were on with Roz. How did you get in touch with Roz, and like how did you end up closing for him without closing experience too?
That's the thing. I had been closing deals all along that time, right? I mean, within 3, 4 months of working with Ravi, I started closing my own deals. And so I was
Mm.
setting on the calendar, but then also closing my own deals throughout that time. And funny enough, Raz was a guy that I closed into our biggest package at the time. And so I had closed him, and from there we got connected. I mean, we liked each other, I guess. And when I told you I was coming back to Costa Rica, I made a stop in Mexico to see my girlfriend. And dude, I talked to Russ at that time about his program and wanted to get into that, but didn't really click for me in terms of like didn't necessarily seem like the next logical step for me because I wanted to do something related to closing.
Right.
Um, and then when I came back here and was transitioning, that's when I guess I talked to him again, and he was like, "Dude, I need someone to help me with sales, right? I need to get someone that can close." And that's when I mean, I had to close the guy, right? So he
Yeah.
knew I could close. So
Okay. So why, like, with all the stuff that you learned with Ravi on that team, and like how he builds stuff and the systems and the setting processes and all that, like, why did you decide to go and like full on close? Or like, I don't know if there was consideration around like, oh, I could probably help other people like specifically do what I helped Ravi do, but like, why did you
yeah,
decide to go just like full on closer instead?
that was probably the biggest debate for me internally. Because, dude, throughout the journey, I literally saw hundreds, if not thousands, of businesses come in, learn, and scale, right? And so for me, it just became so normal to see and understand the process of how a business starts, what they should be doing at stage one, stage two, stage three, stage four, throughout the journey that we had with SWS as well. Like I just understood the process, right? And so, funny enough, that was one of the business ideas I had. Like I should go and consult people, but at the same time, imposter syndrome comes in, and so I felt like I would be a washed down version of SWS, right? And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to compete against that big monster, feeling like small fish. And again, just self sabotage all over the place, right? So one of the things I did was I started looking for people doing it in Latin America. Found a guy, like messaged a lot of people, found a guy and met with him close to the area where I live. And at the time, the guy was doing like 3K a month, something like that. And I remember messaging him, telling him, like, dude, this is my story. This is what I've been doing the last few years. I can help you out if you want. I'm not trying to charge you anything. I'm not looking to like, like have any sort of business relation. I just want to know if all that I know and all that I've learned can work for this market. Long story short, dude, like we started having regular meetings. That guy went from like 3K a month max probably to 20K in like 5 months, and then from there, I think right now he's currently at around 43K a month, almost even 50K. But I've been all with them all along that journey, just helping out, and from 20K and above, I started training his closer and training them on closing and teaching them close. So that's where I also realized that all of that I understand, I love, I like it, but it's not my jam. Like, show me a sales call and I'll get all excited and start reviewing it and analyzing people and their psychology behind making the decision and all that stuff. Um, but when it comes to the rest of it, I guess it's part of business. I can explain it to you. I can walk you
Yeah.
through the process. I can tell you what to do and what not to do. But my passion, it's in the sales part of things.
Yeah. What was it like? So, for context, when you're selling for Ravi, it was, I mean, I guess it's considered a B2B solution, right? You're selling to business
Yeah.
owners. And then the team that you and I were on, we were selling to straight consumers, like regular people. What were the big differences for you? And was there a learning curve when you made the jump?
No, dude, that's so funny that you mentioned that because right now, again, 140 plus clients, all of them are B2B, and when we're getting closer for them, um, dude, I talk to so many closers that are in the B2C space, afraid to go into B2B, or people that close B2B, afraid to go into B2C. And honestly, it's just a fucking same, dude. It's just
Yeah.
people in different levels, right? It's a freaking same decision making process on different environments, right? Yeah, on different industries, but it's exactly the same. And so,
Right.
no, there was no learning curve because the other day I was on Instagram and I saw a video of this guy teaching kids how to do a backflip, and it was supposed to be a joke, but then one of the kids just did it, and he had never done it before. And what the video talked about is he did it because nobody told him he couldn't do it, right? And that's the thing. We get these mental blocks of, oh no, I can't close B2B because it's so much more advanced and refined of a process and stuff. People are so different. No, dude, it's the fucking same. And so when I went to B2C, yeah, people have less money because they are not business owners generating hundreds of thousands of dollars every month. So for
Yeah.
sure they have less money, but the objections are the same, exactly the same. The decision making process is the same. The fears are the same. So yeah, no, I mean, I think that month, dude. Of course, it was November, so it was Black Friday as well. But I think the best month he has had at that point was like 50, 60K. I jumped in, and that month we did 250K. And so
Damn.
I'd say the learning curve was a good one, right?
Yeah. Were you the first closer on that offer?
Yeah.
Damn, dude. And when I was there, I know. I mean, there were at least like 5 closers. So you're just really good at getting in early. It seems like getting in early, and then obviously providing value and like helping people build these things out. And it's even like what you're doing now, right? So that's cool, man. And now you obviously like you have your own thing and you're working with the other group, but it's exciting, dude. And I don't know. I mean, I've seen a lot of salespeople, man. Like I work with salespeople, and I'm a salesperson, and I feel like the way that you do it, like I've seen your calls, and it was a while ago, but I've seen them. It's a little bit different, and I think you come off as like very genuine, and I think it works really well for you. Um, and even like just when we speak, and we don't speak all that much these days because we're busy, but like you come off as super genuine. I think it like shows through, and there's a reason I think you've been able to achieve what you've been able to achieve. It's because like you do good work and you're nice to people, you know. So it's I don't know. It's cool how that works, man. It's cool how that works. So
I
you,
appreciate you, dude.
yeah, man, for sure. So you, man, I mean, so you're closing now. You brought Roz from 50, 60K to 250 in month one, and Black Friday deals, whatever. But eventually, I mean, at the time that you stepped away, I think they're near $1 million a month, something like that. Um, as you were going through that, and you were there for how long were you there for?
2 years, a little bit over 2 years. Yeah.
So you there for 2 years. I mean, what were some of the biggest things that you learned on that team, like seeing them go from where they were to where they did?
Dude, I feel like that part of the journey for me was more of learning to debunk the imposter syndrome and just establishing myself as who I am and accepting who I was. Um, so yeah, I mean, in terms of what I learned from them, basically the same, dude. I mean, back in the day, Russ was 18, 19 when he started all this
I
stuff.
remember. I
And
remember.
so it was super funny because there's so much stuff I was learning from that kid, and just being able to see how mature and just laser focused he was is the biggest lesson I learned, right? It's just that anyone at any age can make anything happen, right? If there's a kid from a poor country in Europe that can get so close to 1 million a month, building his own business, hiring people, managing teams, and all that stuff, uh, why couldn't you do it, right? And so for me, that was the biggest thing. It's just, dude, you can literally do it, right?
Yeah.
But again, it's just being so close that you can absorb the way they think, the way they do things, the way they make decisions, the way they run their daily life, right?
Yeah. I remember getting on that team and I was like, wait, hold on. How old is he? And I figured out he was like 18 years old. I was like it like shattered my mind, dude. I was like, there's no way that 18-year-old from this Eastern European country is able to do these things that he's doing. I mean, clearly there is a way, but I was like, wow, I didn't even realize that was possible, which was
Yeah.
super, super cool. Super cool.
Yeah, dude. I mean, same thing. No, nobody ever told him he couldn't, right? And so he just did it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So you, I mean, man, like I can't help but notice these teams that you're on. You're with Ty, you're there for like 8 months. With Ravi, you're there for 3 years. Then you're on this other one for over 2 years. Like you've probably seen it just like I do. There's an issue with like very short tenure in this high ticket sales space, meaning closers on 1 week, off the next, or like a month later they're gone. Why do you think that is? And like why do you think that you have been able to like stick through and like stay with these teams for years at a time?
I guess number one, I always knew what we were building. Like when I started working with Raz, literally my perspective was, yes, this kid has done 60K best month, but I know the guy. I know how willing and powerful he is, and I know what he's doing, right? I knew we were building $1 million companies, right? Same thing with Ravi. When I got on board, I knew we were going to get to a very high level, and so I never thought I'm just closing. I always thought let's build some cool shit, right? And so the fact that my focus was on building a cool big company, I guess that's what allowed me to just stay there for a long time so without thinking and trying to hop from offer to offer, number one. But number two, dude, is I think you nailed it. Nowadays closers are just, pardon my French, but they're just little bitches trying to make some money on every single offer, and they're just trying to jump from offer to offer because, oh, this week I got no leads. Oh, I got 2 calls today, and so I can't close. Fuck you. Like, just go and get there for a long time and be a team player, right? Give them as much value as you can. Like, I remember working with Russ the second or third month working there. Dude, I had 1 to 2 calls a day. Like that's not enough volume, but it never crossed my mind for 1 second. Oh, I'm gonna leave and find a better offer. For me, it was a matter of, dude, what do we need to do to get more volume? What can I do? Can I hit off this list? Can I be calling these guys? Like, what can I do? What's in my power? Whereas closers nowadays, there's not enough volume. I'm out. This is not gonna work.
Yeah.
I'm out, and that's it. If that's your mentality, dude, you're never gonna make it. You're never gonna be making 15, 20, 30 grand a month. There's no
Yeah.
fucking way. So yeah,
Yeah.
I guess it's just being more of a team player rather than just a commission seeker, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of guys out here helping other people get into the space. And like, dude, I went through one of those programs. That's how I got connected on that team, you know?
Yeah,
And you're helping people, I'm helping people. But do you think, and obviously there's a lot of people doing this a lot of different ways, right? Like some are like making crazy bold claims and maybe not the best fulfillment. There's other people who do it very well and they're like actually helping people. Do you think that that short tenure and that problem with people just like jumping ship super quick is a byproduct of these programs that are like subpar? Or like what do you think
yeah,
gets it in their mind that they're just like, oh, no leads, like I'm gonna jump and go somewhere else?
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, of course, it all starts from I'm going to buy this program, and because I paid $8,000, now I'm a great closer. No, dude,
Yeah.
you gotta get the job done, right? Like you gotta put the reps in, and you gotta develop yourself to that level of performance. Number
Yeah.
one, but then they go into the market with that mentality of because I paid, now I should get the best opportunity. And no, you shouldn't. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of people looking for the same opportunities as you are, so you should stand out. And again, like nobody burns knowing or being an expert, right? When you started out in that program, you definitely were not as good as you are today. And
Right.
so if your skill set is not setting you apart, it's your culture, it's the way you talk to people, it's being genuine, it's really trying to provide value to the team, it's building culture within the team and making sure everyone's happy and well supported. Um, Dude, for a long time, my best friend was one of the guys that worked with Ravi. And we talked every single day in the morning for a long time. And we built a great part of that team's culture, right? And so again, in the times where my skill set wasn't the best in the market, my culture was. And so that's what helped me provide so much value to the team and stay there for such a long time and cash in on so many opportunities, right?
I think that's spot on, man, because I mean, with what I do, yes, I'm in sales, but I never claim to be like the best, right? It's just like, hey, this is what I've done. This is what I've helped people do. If you're interested, I'd like to help you, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of people that end up working with me, they're not coming because they're like, oh, Dylan is the best sales guy. They're coming because like, oh, he does what he says he does, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, there's like that human element of it where it's like, dude, I'm not attracting people in by saying they can make 30K a month in 30 days. You know, I'm like, this is a realistic expectation. If you'd like to achieve this, I might be able to help you, you know, something like that. Um, and then showing the personality. You and I were talking before this, but it's like, that's what people love, man. They love to see what you're up to. They love to see that you're more than just like some guy who has a course or a program, you know? So
Yeah.
So you now, and I'm trying to be cognizant of the time here, but now the main thing that you're up to, and I don't want to like butcher it, but you're helping people in Latin America basically with everything sales. So like, are you taking positions in these companies and like going internally, or are you kind of like helping them from the outside looking in?
Yeah, I'm definitely helping them from the outside looking in. That's why I say Hispanic America because I ended up having clients in Spain and Dubai and stuff like that, for example. Um, but yeah, dude, I guess it's just a combination of being able to see so many companies go through that process that for me it's natural when I get to work with my clients to tell them what else should they be improving on or what else should they be
Yeah,
paying attention to. And so it's just having that strategic eagle's eye view on their business that helps them a lot. But then what I focus on mainly it's on their sales skills, right? 'Cause there's so many coaches, so many people that they're tried that are busy but are not really efficient. And so that's what I help them with is dude, you shouldn't be focusing on more leads or better ads or any of this stuff. You should be learning how to close. And I have many clients that have tripled their businesses with 2, 3 calls a day.
damn.
Because if you learn how to be a rock star closer or the best closer you can be, you can double your revenue like in the blink of an eye, right? As long as you
Yeah,
know what you're doing. So that's really what I focus on, and then from there, optimize the rest, right?
yeah. Yeah. So you're working with mostly like the business owners, or do you also work with the sales? Like sales reps can come in and say, "Hey, Gabe, I want to work with you."
Yeah,
Both.
both of them. I mean, if anyone wants to learn how to close from scratch, I can definitely help them and already have. Uh, Sometimes I help them get placed with my own clients. But here in Latin America, most times it's directly with the business owner because it's an expanding market. And so we still are not in a place where the closer community or movement is so big yet. But
Yeah.
with the 100 plus clients that I have elsewhere, those guys, yeah, it's 50-50, the business owners and the client and the closer teams, right?
Yeah. How did you get in touch with Kai and in the position that you are now with him?
Bro, the setter that I've been like first setter Ross had first closer he had was myself, and so his first setter Hassan he told me about Kai. I didn't even know who the guy was. And similar stuff, right? He had posted that he was looking for someone to help him with coaching his clients, and that's how I applied through a Facebook post. Funny enough, yeah, it took us like 3 weeks to get the job settled down. I did it literally through a Facebook post, and that's the other thing, I've gotten to work with big guys, like very well established people, and it's all due to Instagram stories and Facebook posts. Um,
Yeah.
dude, it's open to everyone. Like everyone is able to cash in on these opportunities. You just need to keep your eyes open and
Yeah.
don't be afraid to just go for it, right?
Yeah. And if you meet people on the way, it makes it easier for sure, you know? So meet people.
100%.
Well, man, if the guys that are listening that are in my group, you probably already know who Gabe is. He's the guy who has a lot of sales opportunities. And if if you don't know really, if you're not in my community, you're not in Gabe's. Gabe is a good guy to connect with. Like if you're in the sales space, you're always hiring. And if you're looking for, especially if you're in Latin America, like you should be talking to Gabe 100%. So I want to be sure to include all your stuff in the description here. But where should people like follow you and reach out to you if they want to?
Instagram is the best place potentially. Consultant underscore Gabe. That'll be it. Add
Cool,
me, message me. Most likely my team's gonna get back to you first, but just tell me you come from Dylan's community and I'll make sure to get back to you personally.
cool, sweet man. Well, any last words before we wrap it up? I really appreciate you coming on such short notice.
No, dude, I do appreciate you a lot as well. And uh not really. I mean, thank you for the opportunity to be here. Thank you for the space. I guess my only golden nugget for everyone out there is just be it, right? Don't wish for the opportunities. Don't want them to come to you. Literally be the kind of person that takes advantage of every single thing that comes across your way. And if you see a Facebook post, you never know, it could change your life, right? So go with all of your intention and all of your force into it, and always have in mind that again, you're not doing little stuff. You're not just applying for a job.
Yeah,
You're in to build cool shit, right? You're in to really provide value to the market. So
yeah.
let that be.
I'm
You
uh,
know?
I'm
Yeah.
glad you said that because a lot of people are out here hating on Facebook. They're like, "Oh, it's the worst place ever." It's like, no, if you know how to do it right, you can find amazing opportunities. So
Yeah. 100%.
it's just one of the ways, right? There's tons of ways. So,
Yeah.
man, appreciate you coming on. Unfortunately, I gotta jump to a sales call right now. Uh, very sales guy esque, but this one will be posted
Go for it, dude.
in Monday, so 3 days from now. And yeah, man, again, I appreciate you coming on. So,
Go for it, dude. Pleasure to see
all
you.
right,
Talk soon.
see ya.